Good afternoon to all from the editorial board of BuildUp Portal. For the ones who are attending a BuildUp webinar for the first time, welcome. For our returning audience, thank you for renovating your interest. Just a brief explanation of what is BuildUp. BuildUp is an European platform in the field of energy efficiency in buildings. It is continuously updated and it represents one of the key sources of information on the topic of energy efficiency. You can register and become a member of the community, and you can also upload news, events, present case studies, results from projects, and so on. I would like to invite you all to navigate the portal. In the Learn section, you will find all the podcasts of the past webinars, so it is possible to listen to all the previous presentations. At the end of this webinar, the link to the full presentation and the file to the PDF presentation will be made available in this section of the portal. It is a pleasure to host today's webinar entitled Introducing the TripleA Reno Combined Labeling Scheme, which is organized in collaboration with H2020 TripleA Reno project. I would like to invite you all to contribute and participate in this webinar. You can ask questions by typing in the box on the right side of the screen. All questions will be answered at the end of the presentations. So feel free to type your questions anytime from when the webinar starts. Now I would like to present the agenda of today's webinar and introduce the speaker. First, Dr. Simona Doca, TripleA Reno Project Coordinator, will give an overview of the project. Then Zoltan Magyai and Gabor Nemeth, Comfort Consulting, will discuss the TripleA Reno Combined Labeling Scheme, a user-friendly data tool for energy performance. Then Ana Sanchez Huertas from Instituto Valenciano de Edificación will present the labeling experience in the TripleA Reno Spanish demonstration building. And last but not least, Mathis Biermann, Gekotech, will show the gamified web tool. Now I would like to leave the floor to Simona Doca. Please, we can start the session.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome to this webinar for introducing the TripleA Reno Combined Labeling Scheme. So just a small introduction to the TripleA Reno project. TripleA Reno stands for Attractive, Acceptable, and Affordable Deep Renovation by a consumer-oriented and performance-based approach. What is TripleA Reno? We're going to illustrate the project, and then we are going to move towards a little bit more in-depth presentation of our results. But first of all, just to introduce myself, my name is Simona Doca. I am an architect by training, and I have a PhD in technology innovation for the built environment. And at the moment, I am here with the head of the the TripleA Reno project coordinator. I am a project manager and researcher at Hagen Engineers and consultant. TripleA Reno is a collaborative effort of 16 partners coming with different backgrounds from the engineering consultancy company field like Hagen to construction companies, to umbrella associations from Brussels, ICT developers, representative of the social housing sector and public sector, as well as very interesting a group of anthropologists that helped us to shape the user-centered approach for TripleA Reno. A little bit more about TripleA Reno itself. This is, as we mentioned, an Horizon 2020 project that started in May 2018. So we are now entering, let's say, the last 6 months of our project that indeed is meant to last 6 months more, so 3 years overall. It's a coordination and support action. So this means that the scope of the project itself is not to develop a, let's say, one single technology, but more to connect with different experiences and to create a harmonization of solutions for tackling some of the problems that and the objectives that we were facing. So here I just wanted to make a little bit of background about TripleA Reno and the home renovation challenge we are facing. So these are basically the reasons why TripleA Reno was started, and also that the continuous momentum that we were facing in our project. Well, first of all, the fact that the European renovation market is still top-down and supply-driven. The fact that this entails the fact that the renovation market it's still deeply fragmented, making consumer or customers navigating in this very complex process in a very dispersed way. At the same time, when we look at the renovation products and packages that are offered, there is still a mismatch between what is offered and at the end what the users could afford, can afford, and what they actually need. So this goes in connection with the realization that there is a lack of attractive tools for decision making to start the renovation process, especially when we talk about deep renovation, so quite complex renovation, not just the substitution of single elements. Another important aspect we try to assess is the lack of clear view on total performance after the renovation work. And that connect also to a lack of quality and control and fully qualified equipped workforce to perform the renovation. That is also a key. So with this in mind, we thought that indeed a brokerage service that builds up transparency and builds up a sort of supply chain that could facilitate the process could be a solution. So here is, let's say, the key concept of TripleA Reno in a nutshell. Well, when we talk about demand and supply side within the renovation market, we are referring to a wide array of stakeholders. From the demand side, of course, we're addressing condominiums and social housing companies. So we're always referring both as offer of these services, both the private sector and the social sector, but only going beyond the individually owned dwellings, also the municipality owned buildings, for instance, where tenants are occupying the spaces. So where the incentives to renovate, it's not uphold the homeowners, but the municipality itself. So also interesting evaluation in terms of investments and return investments. From the supply side, the TripleA Reno platform is addressing also different stakeholders coming from the design phase, so architects, engineers, to the actual construction phase. So they're covering all the expertise that is involved during the construction phase. So ESCO, construction companies, skilled assembly teams for renovation, but also the actual development of the work, for instance, Industry 4.0, industrialized, standardized renovation components, and integrated components per se. So here is the concept that we arrived at one stage of our development. The idea that TripleA Reno tries to somehow fill in a gap between the traditional construction value chain, where the construction industry generates a solution product and put it on the market, and the actual world, which is the current renovation demand and offer in the market, in the renovation market, in which there are a lot of stakeholders, a lot of clients, possible clients and customers requiring for services or renovation packages, and 1,000 million different solutions provided that could fit more or less to the demand. So here, TripleA Reno, with the platform, with the solution and the knowledge, tries to fill in the gap to really position itself in the middle with a sort of marketplace that please follow me, it's not a marketplace in a sense that we are selling something, but positioning a local space, a space that is virtual, to meet the demand and the offer in services and in the actual phases, in the real phases of the renovation. And of course, the concept of user centricity is, let's say, our feu rouge for TripleA Reno, whereas all the different tools and the different levels of the platforms are developed with the users in mind, with this concept of co-developing the solution so that the attractiveness of the end results will be ensured. The scope of TripleA Reno is to make renovation attractive and to uptake at the end the number of renovations that are occurring in Europe. We are developing our solution, and we're testing our solution in different demonstration sites. And today's presentation will indeed show how the solutions are developed at one point, but also validated in our demonstration site. And my colleague Ana Sanchez will indeed explain one of this validation field. Just very briefly, before moving to the more technical presentation, what is the TripleA Reno platform about? So the TripleA Reno platform is a data-enabled deep renovation architecture for end users. The platform is defined in, let's say, main three conceptual levels. A part of the platform, some features of our platform supports the design phase. Others are tailored to support the deconstruction phase. And at the end, some other features are supportive of the in-use phases. And as we will see today, all these features are embedded into and supported by gamification elements. What are gamification elements? Well, we will have also a presentation about that, describing how not just badges and also behavioral theories could be included to enhance the attractiveness and the usability of the tools. Just very briefly, the level 1 of the platform is somehow dedicated to supported the design phase with several tools. Here we are trying to provide a selection of possible renovation concepts that would, let's say, better fit to a specific geographical location and specific building types, so that the decision-making process is facilitated. The level 2 of the platform is dedicated to the construction phase. So also several actions of the actual renovation will be supported also through gamification elements. For instance, the build-up skill advisory app to support the actual renovation, to support quality inspection, and also to help consumers to follow the reports, to follow the progress of the actual works. And then the level 3, which is the actual in-use phase. The in-use phase is dedicated to that effort of filling the gap between the planned results and the providing quality and monitoring the energy consumption, the indoor environmental quality of the renovated homes after the actual renovation. So what we're going to see today is indeed big chunk of the work developed within TripleA Reno, which is indeed the comfort label for indoor environmental quality. That was a collaborative effort led by Comfort Consulting. How we're going to deliver this work? Well, the interesting and unique part of TripleA Reno is that these different elements of the platform are somehow concerted and discussed and debated with several umbrella associations representing the key stakeholders that will be either using or selling or broadcasting or supporting the uptake of the platform within clients, within their field of expertise, within their the members, or indeed themselves, like or associations. So we work with groups of architects through the ACE, the Architects Council of Europe. We work with Housing Europe, representing the social housing sector. We work with the UEPI, the International Union of Property Owners, in that sense representing the interests of privately owned apartments, as well as ICLE, representing local governments for sustainability as a global network. So they're supporting, for instance, the connection with municipalities, as well as organization, Federation of HVAC Associations, so building installers and all the, say, the industry behind the construction sector. This to help facilitate exploitation and replication of all our results, such as, for instance, the opportunity we had today to discuss the main results. Another important element of TripleA Reno that I would like to stress is the TripleA Reno Roadshow. The roadshow was envisioned before the COVID-19 pandemic to support the connection with the real users. So our intention was to meet the residents of our demonstration sites, to work with them towards co-creation. Partially, we managed to do that, and partially we had to think about a contingency plan. So the roadshow moved to what we call the home show. So several interviews have been made with the project participants, with the partners, to discuss with them somehow some sectorial perspective of deep renovation. And I would really suggest you to check our YouTube page, because all these videos have been updated. And in my perspective, this created an incredibly rich, deep and pool of knowledge about deep renovation and different perspectives. So just to conclude, our TripleA Reno mission going forward, of course, is to make a deep renovation easier, faster, more attractive for stakeholders by giving access of key results to also to new projects that might follow from after TripleA Reno. Of course, the concept of fostering consumer-centered business models and decision tools could not be undervalued, because all the solutions could not be made or even thought without thinking of the user at the center. Of course, facilitating decision-making, facilitating step-by-step concepts, facilitating, for instance, development of one-stop shop concepts for deep renovation. And indeed, again, something that I would like to stress is the emphasis of the user involvement in the development of the business model, as well as the solutions, is the key for reducing the complexity and, you know, getting a little bit closer to a solution that will be more easily widespread and updated and adopted. So this was the end of my presentation. I hope I stayed within the time. But again, I would strongly advise you to go and check on our social media channels, the TripleA Reno webpage, and send us an email for any questions or for any connection. Thank you so much. I would like to give the stage to my colleague, Professor Zoltan Magyar, to introduce the TripleA Reno combined labeling.
Thank you very much, Simona. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zoltan Magyar from Hungary. I am the Managing Director and owner of the Comfort Consulting, and I am personally HVAC engineer, and I have a PhD and habilitation in the comfort and energy efficiency. In this project, I would like to present the TripleA Reno combined labeling scheme. The first question is that why we need to use and to use a combined labeling system. First of all, the people would like to live a comfortable and healthy home. It's very clear, and then they would like to pay less, and this is the reason that they would like to get an energy efficient home. And for that, they use a deep renovation. The renovation including the building envelope and also the technical building system. And then what is very typical, that they have no information what is the comfort parameters. This is the reason that it's necessary to measure the comfort parameters like the temperature, humidity, CO2 level, VOC, and other parameters. And then what is also typical, that the occupants, they have no information, the comfort parameters, and also they have no information about the energy saving. And then if they have, it's a very big goal to split it and to give the information to the other occupants that with the given renovation package can achieve a good goal, and what is the reason. And then we developed a combined labeling scheme which includes 3 sub chapter or subtasks. One is the energy performance. Usually we are speaking all the time the energy performance. How can we achieve? And you know, in the European Union we have a new renovation wave, and then the goal is to speed up the deep renovation, but also it's very important to speak about the indoor climate, the indoor environmental quality, and also the well-being. This is the reason that we started to work to develop a combined labeling, because I think that it is very, very important. How did we develop this combined labeling scheme? First of all, we made several assessments. We investigated the existing labeling schemes, systems like the LEED, BREEAM, WELL, SRI, and also the energy part, the EPBD. And then also we investigated the levels, and parallel with the TripleA Reno, we have several European projects like the Mobistide, Aldran, Open House. And then we have connected with these programs, and we wanted to develop a new labeling scheme. And then this labeling scheme indicators on the energy performance, the indoor environmental quality, and the well-being. And then we developed the methodology and also we made the validation in the pilot location. It means that we validated this new system in Hungary, in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, also in Slovenia and the Netherlands. It means that we have some experience concerning with the labeling system. And we already had several dissemination. In the last year, when was the Brussels summit in the Rivo. In the Rivo TRC meeting, I had a presentation and I presented the system. And at that time also, I presented only one case study. It was in Hungary. It was the first one. But later, we extend for the other countries. And also in the last year, in December, it was a big congress in Belgrade. It was the 50th KGH Congress. And also I presented the results of the labeling scheme. And then we finished this sub-task and we prepared the delivery during the TripleA Reno project, and also we prepared a video and presented this combined labeling scheme and system. After this introduction, I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Gabor Németh, to present in details what we did and what is the result, when we could achieve. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you, Zoltán, for this introduction. My name is Gabor Németh. I'm an HVAC engineer, and I've been working for Comfort Consulting Ltd. In this project, I deeply involved in the development process of the combined labeling scheme. So let me introduce the details, the methodology, the elements of the combined labeling, and how to use it in practice. I go to the next slide. Yes, okay. So I'm starting with my presentation with the energy performance indicators. So the main objectives of these indicators is to express the energy efficiency of the analyzed dwelling, is to ensure the comparison with other buildings. This is implemented by presenting the energy efficiency class, the calculated total primary energy use, and the delivered energy use according to the EPBD and the reverse reporting framework. And there is also an important aim to ensure monitoring of the energy consumption by presenting the measured delivered energy uses. I think it's very important because in many cases, the measured and the calculated figures are very different. So we would like to present not only the calculated, but also the measured values. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the energy performance indicators and the units, the calculation method, and the sources of these indicators. The energy performance indicators are the energy efficiency class, the calculated total primary energy use, the calculated delivered energy use per each energy sources, the measured delivered energy use, the share of renewable energy sources, and the last one is the average thermal transmittance. Okay, so this is how it looks like in the template. So on the left-hand side, these are the performance indicators. Here you can see the units, the references, and in the white background parts, you have to fill in the indicators, the figures. So let me present these indicators one by one. The first energy performance indicator is the energy efficiency class. It is adopted from the EPC. Why? Because EPC, the energy performance certificate, has been introduced in the European Union for several years ago, and it's a widely used and very objective assessment. So there is no need to develop any other kind of efficiency indicator. We used that indicator from the EPC. The second one is the calculated total primary energy use. It is also in connection with the Epd, of course, and the EPC. So it is adopted from the EPC, and it should be calculated according to these standards. The third indicator is calculated delivered energy use and energy sources. There are two reasons to introduce this indicator. The one reason is because primary energy is maybe too difficult to understand for non-expert people. And the other reason that there are big differences among primary energy factors. So it should be calculated again according to these standards, and it includes the heating, cooling, domestic hot water, and ventilation energy needs of residential dwellings. And according to Epd, it doesn't include lighting and appliances. The next indicator is the delivered energy use. As I mentioned before, it's really essential to present the measured figures as well, not only the calculated ones. In one hand, it is very useful when one would like to monitor the energy consumption before and after a renovation project or any kind of intervention that influences the energy consumption. And on the other hand, it is very useful when we like to compare buildings with each other. The method is based on the energy bill, so we consider the energy use that is on in the energy bills, and it includes all the energy consumption, of course. And we don't use any correction. We don't use weather or standard user profile correction, because we want to present the real value and not a corrected value. The fifth indicator is share of renewable energy sources, or renewable energy ratio, in other words. I think it's a very clear indicator, and I hope this can motivate occupants, homeowners to use more renewable energy. And this presents the percentage of the renewable primary energy in the total primary energy need. Next indicator, and the last one, is the average thermal transmittance. We introduced this indicator because in a building there are several building structures with different U values, thermal transmittances, and this single indicator combines these values into a single number. So we used the area-weighted average, and this presents the thermal characteristics of a building. So it's very useful when one would like to compare different buildings' thermal characteristics with this indicator. Or again, it could be useful when one would like to compare before and after a building thermal capacity, thermal features. So it presents the building structures above the ground. It is very important because usually the renovation doesn't include the slab on the ground insulation, because it could be very expensive and it's difficult to implement in existing buildings. So now I presented the energy performance indicators, and let me present the well-being and IQ indicators. So beyond the energy performance assessment, the TripleA Reno combined leveling scheme includes the evaluation of technical building systems in terms of well-being and IQ. This is because the well-being and the IQ very much depend on the features of the technical building systems. Let me present just an example. If there is a room temperature control in a building, that is much better than a building temperature control. because in case of room temperature control, the occupants can set the indoor temperature according to their specific needs. And many case studies indicate that the thermal sensation of young adult people and elderly people, or children and adult, or women and men, has different thermal sensation. So the optimal temperature is not the same. So occupants should be able to set the indoor temperature according to their specific needs. So we include this indicator, but it was just an example. And the most important features of the technical building systems were collected. On one hand, these have influence on the IQ. On the other hand, these indicators can be improved by deep renovation. Here you can see the indicators. This is a control of heating system, control of cooling system, the fresh air flow per number of occupants in case of mechanical ventilation, the air tightness of windows and doors, the exterior shading, and the radiant heating and cooling system and radiant temperature as symmetry. Let's see one by one. The control of the heating and control of the cooling system, as I mentioned before, it's really essential to ensure right thermal comfort. There are 5 categories. Of course, if there is no heating or no cooling system, then the labeling doesn't consider this indicator. And the other possibilities you can see on the screen. There is no control of the heating or cooling system. There is central temperature control, apartment temperature control, or room temperature control. Of course, of these, the best solution is the room temperature control. And later on in my presentation, you will see that this kind of solution will get the maximum points in the labeling. The next indicator is fresh air flow per person in case of mechanical ventilation. This assessment is aligned with the EN 16798 standard. And there in the standard, there are 3 categories, category 1, 2, and 3. So we compare the designed fresh air flow per person with the standards, with the category of the standard. And I think it's a very important indicator and very actual indicator, because in the COVID-19 crisis, as we are all in, it's an essential to provide enough fresh air for occupants. The next indicator is air tightness of windows and doors. You can see examples on the right-hand side of the screen. The poor air tightness windows can cause discomfort for occupants, because especially in winter time, the cool air comes through the leakages of the windows to the indoor space, and it can cause thermal comfort problems, draft, and so on. And of course, it increases the energy consumption. So that's why it should be avoided. So there are 3 categories when we evaluate windows. It means an on-site visual check of openings. It can be poor air tightness, as you can see, the warped, poorly fitted, or unsealed windows. The medium air tightness means windows and doors with well-fitted ceilings. And the good air tightness means very new buildings with factory-fitted ceilings according to the standard. The 5th indicator is exterior shading. This indicator is included because exterior shading is the best way to reduce solar heat loads and to prevent the warming up of homes in summer. So in this indicator, the percentage of the glazed openings with exterior shading is considered and evaluated, and the openings, of course, from east to west are considered, and we accept the north orientation. The 6th indicator is radiant heating and cooling systems. This indicator is included because radiant heating and cooling systems like wall or floor heating, this provides better thermal comfort than conventional systems. And this indicator is very clear. It presents whether the radiant heating systems operates in the rooms at least 50% of the conditioned floor area. This indicator is adapted from well leveling scheme. And the last one is the radiant temperature asymmetry. The radiant temperature asymmetry means a temperature difference of the surrounding surfaces in an enclosed space, and it can also cause thermal comfort complaints. So that's why we include it in the labeling. So we compare the temperature differences of the surfaces to the relevant standard, and yeah, the evaluation is done accordingly. Okay, now we learned the energy performance indicators and the IQ indicators of technical building systems. But as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the measured and the calculated figures can be very different. So we need on-site measurements in order to provide information to the occupants on which parameters are good and which should be improved in order to improve the IQ and the well-being. The measurement place is the living room. There is a detailed monitoring protocol on the TripleA Reno's website provided by our project partner Epd. So you can download this monitoring protocol from the project website. If you perform all the measurements, you will have, of course, a measured data set, and you have to select that category from the standard where minimum 85% of the measured values meet the requirement of the given category. So here you can see the indicators. These are the operative temperature in the heating and also in the cooling season, the relative humidity, CO2 concentration, and other air pollutants like TVOC, formaldehyde, and particulate matter. So let's see briefly one by one these indicators. The operative temperature, you have to complete a 1-week measurement by at least 5-minute time series, and the measured values have to be compared to the temperature ranges of the relevant standard. You can see here the temperature ranges of the standard to the heating season and also to the cooling season. The next is the relative humidity and the CO2 concentration. It requires also a 1-week measurement by 5-minute time series, but you can use a common meter. For example, in the bottom of the slide, you can see a common meter for CO2, relative humidity, and temperature, and it's not so expensive. So you have to do this 1-week measurement, and in case of the relative humidity, the measured values are compared to the standard, the comfort range, which is 30 to 70% relative humidity. And in case of the CO2 concentration, you have to compare the values for the relevant standard. You can see here the CO2 ranges of the given categories in the standard. The next one is TVOC. The TVOC is a typical indoor contaminant, air pollutant. The sources can be furniture, air fresheners, cleaning products, and so on. And long exposure of TVOC with even a very low concentration can cause different kind of symptoms like eyes, nose, and throat irritation, dry skin, and so on. So that's why it is included in the assessment. It requires 2 measurements on the spot at the beginning and at the end of the 1-week measurements of temperature, relative humidity, and CO2. And after that, the measured values are compared to the well-being limit, which is adapted from well and lead leveling schemes, and it is 500 microgram per cubic meter TVOC. Formaldehyde, it also requires 2 measurements on the spot, and the measured values are compared to the allowed concentration, which is 100 microgram per cubic meter. And last but not least, it's also a very actual topic, the particulate matter, because you might know the viruses are transferred by particulate matters and aerosols. So the particulate matter means particle pollution. It means very small particles in the air. These are inhalable particles, so these can get into the lung and even into the bloodstream and can cause serious health problems. So this indicator presents the concentration of the particulate matter in the oil. It requires two measurements, two 30-minute long measurement at the beginning and the end of the 1 week measurement. Then the measured values have to be compared to the allowed concentration that you can see on the screen. Okay, so the labeling method, the energy performance indicators are presented one by one. So you can see here how it looks like in the template. These are the energy efficiency class, the calculated energy use is the measured energy use, the share of renewable energy source, and the average U value. And in order to ease the understanding of the result of the evaluation of well-being and IQ, we developed a joint assessment, and the output is one class. It can be excellent, good, acceptable, weak, or very weak evaluation. You can see here again all the indicators on the left-hand side, and in the right-hand side you can see the scores which can be achieved by the analyzed project. So if there is, for example, an apartment temperature control in the heating season, then this project gains 10 points, but the maximum can be achieved with room temperature control, which is 20 points. Or if we can see another example, air tightness of windows and doors, if there are medium air tightness windows in the analyzed dwelling, then it gains 5 points. The method is the same when we evaluate the measured values. For example, if the measured temperature data set meets the requirement of the standard category 3, then now it's okay, or?
Yes, we can hear again.
Okay. Okay, I turned my camera off. Maybe it could be better. So, okay. Yes. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Yes, okay. So I apologize for this. So you can see the steps of the labeling on this screen. First, the relevant well-being and IQ indicators gain scores according to the previously presented tables. Then we sum the gain scores of these relevant indicators. Then we sum the theoretical maximum scores of the relevant indicators. we calculate the percentage of these two values, the total gain points and the total theoretical maximum points. And after that, the labeling is based on the calculated percentage of total and theoretical maximum points. The labeling result is excellent if the percentage is between 90 and 100%. The labeling result is good if we get a percentage between 80 and 89 and so on. It could be acceptable, weak, or very weak. Okay. Yes. So how to label whole buildings? It's not so difficult. When we make the energy performance assessment, of course, the primary, the delivered energy, and all the measured energy consumption have to be considered to the whole building. So it's very easy. In the second part, it's also easy. If there are different systems in the building, the most representative must be taken into account. As for the third part of the labeling, the measured indicators need at least 3 measurements, and at least in 3 apartments. One flat shall be selected which is on the edge of the building, one flat on the top floor on the corner, and one in the intermediate flat. And after we have to make the score calculations for these 3 apartments, and we calculate an area-weighted average score. Okay, and how to do this combined labeling in practice? We developed an Excel template, and you can download this from the project. Oh, sorry. Going back, if I can. Yes. Okay. So you can download this labeling template from the TripleA Reno project website via this link, and we made a video guide on how to use this combined labeling template. So you can see this on a YouTube channel by clicking on this link. And if you prefer a web browser-based tool, the Excel template will be transformed into a web browser-based tool. Our colleague Matthijs from Gekotech will take a live demonstration. And last, a non-expert version will be also available. Okay. You can see here the template as I presented before. I'm running out of time, so I go to the end. So in conclusion, the TripleA Reno combined labeling scheme is capable to inform people about the energy performance, IQ, and well-being of their homes. The energy performance indicators are essential to motivate occupants to renovate their homes. But the evaluation of qualitative parameters of technical building systems can indicate which improvements are needed to achieve better IEQ. And finally, the on-site measurements are also needed to evaluate the realized condition, including temperature, relative humidity, and indoor air pollutants, in order to show what should be improved. So that's from my side. Please visit the TripleA Reno project website and our company's website, and please send your questions during the webinar. And after the webinar, you can send your questions by email in these email addresses. So thank you again. Thank you for your attention. I give the floor to Ana Sanchez from EVA.
Thank you, Gabor. Thank you for this presentation and for explaining us the combined labeling. Thank you, Simona, for putting in context the labeling to the TripleA Reno project. I am Ana Sanchez, and I work as a researcher in the Valencian Institute of Building. which is in this project in charge of the field activities. This is with the contact with the real building occupants, connecting the project objectives with the real needs and interests of these real people. This sometimes give us new ideas and that we maybe didn't figure out when we were sitting at our desks. So I will for this put in context the demonstration site, because I will explain this kind of activities in the context of the labeling and in the context of the Spanish demonstration building, which in fact did brought us a new idea, which you will see now. If I can go through the presentation, can you please? Thank you. So we will see now very briefly how the demo building was and how the users were, how we the experience that we had implementing the labeling scheme within this building with these users, and then the non-expert version need that arose from that experience. So I will very quickly explain you the what we call the labeling wizard, which is the version of the label for non-expert users. Next, please. So we will start from the demo building, which is not exactly a building, but a block, which is placed in a small town in Alicante, at the south of the Valencia region. It's a public housing stock, which is comprised by 5 buildings with 55 dwellings. It was built in the 80s, not in the best quality materials, to say everything. It's composed by dwellings which have from 2 to 4 bedrooms, from 17 to 100 square meters, and they all share some small public space here at the middle. So for the users, these are very vulnerable users. They are living there under a social rental scheme, very cheap, as you can see. They're usually living there around 5 people, many school children, old people. They have high rates of unemployment and informal work. And as you can see, they live very close to catastrophic situations. So what was the experience with this kind of occupants, which might not be the regular user of our products, but everything has to be tested. So we were there, and the experience within the labeling. For the calculated energy indicators, there was no problem because the building belongs to the Public Housing Association here in Valencia region. So we have the project, we have the energy certificates. So we could have very directly all the indicators that Gabor have just explained. But then we went to the qualitative and perceived health and well-being indicators. For this, we went to the houses and we meet with the neighbors. We ran some questionnaires with them. We made some interviews. We observed how the houses were in relation to the energy consumption and their energy behavior and these kind of things. Then we went to the measure indicators, both the energy indicators and the indoor environmental quality. For this, we were assisted by professionals, the owners of the sensors that we were using. And as you can see, we were using very different kind of sensors, some continuous measurements, spotting measurements. Some of them had screens with colors, which were very helpful for the users. Some of them had more complex dashboards with a lot of information, which for some kind of users are not really giving them the information that for us might be useful. So this is something that I have to take into account also, which kind of sensors are you using. So then when we got the results, we also share them with the neighbors. We show them or explain them the data that we have gathered and collect through the templates. We had the combined performance label, as Gabor has just showed you. And we brought there this small gift because they had allowed us to get in their lives, in their houses, and put a lot of machines in there. So we gave them these small fridge magnets with colors and a thermometer and a photo of the building. And this suddenly this was the only thing that they really liked from all the experience. So that's why we thought that there was a need that we might not have taken into account, which was to have a non-expert user version of the label. Not the objective of the objective public of this version is not exactly the kind of user that we were dealing with, but it's for the non-professional, the not scientific, the one who is living his lives away from the energy performance indicators. So what we learned is that this had to be much more visual and relatable to their lives. For example, our users really loved the fact that they had in the sticker a photo of their home. And it has to be much more simple and maybe more useful for them, like the fact that they had there the thermometer. So we thought we need some kind of much more simpler version. And it's how it came up, the non-expert user version. This is a very easy tool for a pre-evaluation, which has very simple gamification things like getting points or recommendations and getting these badges or smileys with shiny colors. It's a very simplified labeling version, which we call a sticker because it's something with much less information than the label. So how is this? This is a web app that gives you some questions, very easy, in different formats. Click in the map, select one image, say yes or no. Sometimes you have to fill some data. Sometimes you have to choose from different options. Sometimes you have a drop down. Depending on the section that you are filling up, it's a different color. So it's you can even use it in your mobile phone. What's the objective was to be very, very portable. So this was more or less the version. A translation from the questions that you need to answer to fill the label. But in this case, very simple for a user to be there sitting with their phones and to answer in the moment. When you answer these questions, you get some points. When possible, they are exactly the same points that you get in the label. But of course, as we have changed some questions, not always the points are exactly the same. So as you answer, you get some scores. And these are translated into the labels that Gabor has explained. It's very excellent, it's good, it's acceptable. And instead of only the color, well, we give a smiley. You also get recommendations because as you are checking the different answers, the engine is loading and storing some kind of recommendations which are attached to a certain answer or to a certain combination of answers. So at the end, you can get this kind of version with colors, with smileys, with photos, which we will try to make these photos not the standard photos, but allow the user to put their own photos from their own house in this separated version or in the altogether version. together with some recommendations. We have these fact sheets which are related to the recommendations that we can give to the user. So they will be able to download maybe 2, maybe 3, according to their answers, recommendations of different interventions that they could do in their homes. But most importantly, the objective of this tool is to get like an onboarding tool for non-expert, for the general public, which gives an access to the whole TripleA Reno platform. From this result, you should be able to connect with the carousel of finished projects, so you can see what things you could do with your building and how you could improve. Or you could go to the design wizard, where you could try to change things and see how your house could improve. Or of course, you could go for the expert performance label, the one that it's much more professional, and the one that has more reliable results that you can be able to compare because it's a standardized process. So this is what Matthijs is going to explain to you right now. So I give the floor to him, and thank you very much for your attention. You can ask anything later in the question and answer section. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let me turn on my webcam. Hi, I'm Matthijs Bierman. I'm from the Netherlands. I work for Gekkotech, and we are part of the TripleA Reno platform and consortium. And we've built a web version of the tool that Gabor introduced earlier. Let me see if I, yes, have control of the mouse. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking you through a live demo. That's always dangerous because things might break. If they do, I'll see if I can work around it. But it's still in beta, but it's almost done. So let's see how far we can get. The tool attempts to let a user enter the data as it is measured. So in the Excel version of the tool, there are quite a few calculations that need to be made by the professional, and this tool attempts to simplify that. So we start off with providing a location. I'll just use this demo location that we used earlier, and then start the measurement. So the first indicator you need to enter, which is the Epd Classification. So for this demo, we'll be using a building which has a F rating, not very good. If you select any of the other ratings, you'll see the colors associated with each of the ratings. If you make a mistake, you can always go back. It'll show you the previous choice, and you can update it if you want, and then go to the next step again. So these are the first few questions from the label, where we need to enter the calculated energy use of the building. Calculated means it is the theoretical energy usage. And I will enter the values that were provided to me in another entry. Now, electricity. All of these values will be things that professionals understand, so there's no need to thoroughly explain everything. They are very used to dealing with these numbers. And for district energy, let me check. If you don't fill something out that is required, the tool will help you out and alert you. If there's no measurement, you can enter 0. The apartment we're doing here is 70 square meters. Electricity use, let me peek at my cheat sheet. I haven't memorized all of the values. And now we need to choose which type of heating is being used. We can add a secondary energy source if needed, but in this case, for this demo, we only have a single one. I think. Yes, that might be a bug. If you show it, it then becomes required, even if you remove it later. I will enter 0 as a workaround. The share of renewable energy is a number expressed as a percentage. In this case, it's a very, very low percentage for the demo site that we did. This is a number that will be calculated, can be calculated by the TripleA Reno project platform as well, in which case it would be pre-filled. Let me check what the correct value is. Yes. So this is for the heating system. As explained by Gabor, there are a few options. One of the options is that there is no heating system. Well, in this case, we do have a heating system, and it has apartment temperature control. But we have no cooling system, and we'll later see that no points were added for the cooling system. There's a number of questions which are optional. If there is mechanical ventilation, you'll be required to calculate how much fresh airflow there is. And to further facilitate entering the number that is on the pump directly, sometimes it's measured in liters per second, sometimes in cubic meters per hour. You can choose either one and then enter the data. However, for this demo, we'll use no mechanical ventilation present. For the windows, again, you can simply pick the correct option. In this case, we'll do good air tightness. Same for windows, you can just enter the total number of windows excluding the north and the number of windows that have exterior shading. So in this case, say the ground floor has shading, the top floor does not. The heated or cooled area, we have 30 square meters out of the 70 which are heated. So again, no requirement to calculate yourself. This is a very specific value that the professionals will be familiar with. I still struggle to understand exactly how this works, but the temperature difference between the warm walls or warm ceilings and the cool walls and the cool ceilings in case of cooling are entered, and then a formula is applied which checks if the difference between the warm wall and the ceiling becomes too high and how much discomfort that provides. The details are in an ISO specification which are linked here. I'm going to peek at what I need to enter here to get the desired values. And for a cool wall, so we can enter all of the values. We could also enter 0 if we have no measurement. For measurements of the temperature, we use simple text files. So there's a single data point per line, and I'm not sure if the text files I sent just before the presentation have been downloaded and whether or not I can access them here. I can check and see if they are on the desktop. They're not, or let me check again if I can find them. Julia, or are you? No, okay. We don't have them, I think. I'll enter no, but normally you can upload the file that comes directly out of the temperature measurement device. So in this case, for the cooling system, we also have no measurements. For relative humidity, we'll also have no measurements. It works the same way. For CO2, we can enter a baseline, which by default is 400, but if you do an outside measurement, you can enter the outside measurement and then the inside measurement, and the tool will calculate the difference between the two and apply the rating. In this case, again, we'll skip this question, and the same for the volatile organic components. Oh, we can actually, for this one, we can enter some values. So I'll say that we measured a value which is lower than the threshold for the formaldehyde, and then for the particulates, we'll say that the value was slightly higher. Now we can also upload some pictures. Again, I have no pictures now, but if you want, you can upload a picture for every conceivable scenario, and they'll be included in the final report, which should show now. Here we are. This looks very much like the output from the Excel sheet. It's got some nice graphics that immediately show you that both the qualitative well-being and the measured well-being in this case both are very weak, and the energy class is also weak. So this would be a prime candidate for deep renovation. The detailed values are also included in the report below. And you can see that based on the entry that was made, points are not included or they are included and applied according to the scheme. So it's very easy to use. As you can see, it's very quick to create a label. You can add some recommendations, and then when you finalize the label, you can share it and you can print it as you like. That was it.
Thank you. So we can go on with the Q&A. I got some questions from the audience. So one which is for Gabor, I think. Nice to have an IEQ level, but just adding scores without weighting seems dangerous. If you score very bad on one issue, you may not see this, or is there a threshold on all indicators? Gabor, are you available?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Okay. Nice to have an IEQ level, but just adding scores without weighting seems dangerous. If you score very bad on one issue, you may not see this. Or is there a threshold on all indicators?
No, there is no threshold for the indicators. As I presented, there are different categories given in the standard, and the labeling is based on those categories. So we didn't introduce any other kind of evaluation.
Okay, thanks. Another question for you. There are nationally, regionally different energy requirements. Does the score depend on the country I am in?
Yes. Concerning the energy performance indicators, there is no score. I think the national requirements is given for, in most cases, for the total primary energy use and renewable energy use and so on. But these are presented one by one, and there is no score. There is no aggregation of these indicators. These are presented one by one, as I said. And concerning the IQ, we use the standard values, and of course, if the national requirement differs from these standard values, that can be changed. It's the point of this kind of labeling. It's is to introduce a new way of the evaluation. So to introduce not only the energy performance assessment, but also the IQ and the well-being. So later we can introduce other versions of this template. For example, for the South Europe, I guess, where there is no cooling system, maybe the scores should be changed. So it is just a proposal, a default template. Maybe we can, if we get inputs for that, proposals from the experts and attendees of this webinar, we are open to make other versions.
Thank you. Another question for Anna. How do you envision the measuring in a large sample of housing? Which of the technical equipments do you propose to install to all or most apartments? How much would it cost to have one most important or all tools?
Well, for the measurements campaign, yeah, there's many equipment, very different, and the price varies a lot depending on if it's calibrated under the standards and those kind of things. We have tried very different categories, let's say, of sensors. And from sensors that could cost like 100 euros to other sensors that can cost you like 3,000 euros. So my recommendation, if you want to really measure a big amount of dwellings, is to use the same for all of them, so you can compare, because that's the main thing. Our experience when we were mixing different kind of sensors was much worse than when we were using cheap ones, but which were giving us the same errors, let's say, for all the time and for all the apartments. So I think that's the most I can tell you about this.
Thank you. Another question for you. Was it easy to involve neighbors? How did you select them?
Well, it was not easy, really. We tried to select them under the guidelines of the labeling scheme, which was, we have a very big building, but we are not going to measure all of them. So we are going to select, let's say, 3. One in the top floor, one in the ground floor, one in the middle, one in different orientations. So we run some questionnaires, we explain the project to the neighbors, so on, so on. At the end, it was not easy. It was not easy, and we had to rely on the owners of the building, which were talking to them, because at the end of the day, you are asking them to give you access to their homes. You have to go there several times. You put there a lot of mini machines that they don't know exactly what they are doing. So no, it's not easy. That's also the thing that made us think of this kind of self-evaluation, because sometimes it's very difficult to enter people's homes.
Thank you. So another question for Gabor, actually. How can the combined labeling motivate the occupants to perform renovation projects?
Yes, thank you. Well, a recent study made by our project partner, IRI Ljubljana, identified that improving health, well-being, and IQ is a decision factor in favor of renovation. So the added value of the combined labeling is the evaluation of the technical building system in terms of IQ and the assessment of the realized IQ by on-site measurements. So based on the combined labeling, we can decide what should be renovated in order to improve well-being and IQ. And I think this is very motivate end users to make renovations.
I would like to add something for this question, that I think that it will be more and more important because if you think about that, in November, 14th of November, the Commission accepted and published the renovation phase for Europe to speed up the deeper and faster renovation. And then I think that if you see the real energy consumption and the calculated energy consumption, and there is the difference between the measured and the calculated value, it's a very good thing to compare it and to investigate the occupants' behavior. And then with the occupants' behavior, we have information about the comfort parameters, like to check the temperature, what was the temperature during the day, during the night. And then we have a benchmarking system through this labeling system. And then it's also a very good possibility. And I think that it could be a very useful tool to achieve this renovation wave all Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no more questions from the audience, I would finish the Q&A here. Thank you to all our speakers today and to the audience, and have a nice day.
Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you. Have a nice day, you too. Bye.
Thank you.